This is the Travel and Tourism Show on Star FM.
Good evening and welcome to the Travel and Tourism Show, the show that brings you information on places to travel to, how to travel, what to do and how to do it. We also give you tips as we look at various issues in the travel and tourism industry. It's October, still October, here on Star FM, sounding good all the time, and we are saying hashtag Rocktober. Remember, we do have a WhatsApp platform on our show, and the number is 263-734-610-613. So feel free to join in at any time on the conversation or post questions at any time. Joining me in the studio today is Mr. Emmanuel Fundira. He is the president of the Safari Operators Association of Zimbabwe. Mr. Fundira, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Perhaps we can start by you telling us, who is Emmanuel Fundira and what is his role in the tourism industry?
Wow. Emmanuel Fundira has been involved in the tourism industry time immemorial. I must say I've been at the thick of things for the last 25 years. And that has given me a fairly good understanding and depth in terms of the goings on in this particular industry. Not only in Zimbabwe, but also in the region. And I started this profession externally when I was in the United Kingdom, and I was involved in one of the iconic developments in the United Kingdom with the setting up of Alton Towers, which is just outside Staffordshire in the West Midlands. And that gave me a fairly good insight in terms of what this was all about. So when I left that journey in terms of my academic career, I also came to Zimbabwe back home and got myself involved in setting up similar business in this particular sector. I'm directly involved in both the activity side of the industry. I'm also involved in the accommodation side, in the hospitality side of the business, and also involved in what we call the hardcore safari industry, which is the hunting sector.
Okay, so when we talk of safaris, what are we talking about really?
Well, safari, as you know, is a Swahili derivative, if you like, where it talks about an expedition of a visitor coming to Africa. They're coming to enjoy the safari experience in Africa, discovering things which are fairly unique to Africa itself. What do we have which is unique to Africa? Especially in Zimbabwe, we've got our own natural endowments, which are translated into wildlife. For example, the various areas of interest. You got the iconic Victoria Falls and all those things which are also well known. People come on a safari as an expedition to come and discover and have an experience and test some of those qualities which can only be enjoyed in our environment.
Okay. How well have safaris, or has the safari industry been faring?
Well, I mean, first of all, we can't just cage safaris into one particular box.
Okay.
What we want to do is to expand that a little bit and talk about the people ourselves, and also talk about the keywords which are very typical in terms of enhancing tourism growth, which are your triple A's, your access, activities, and accommodation.
Okay.
The safari experience comes at the middle A. In terms of activities, people travel. If you give them access to travel, they want to come and partake in various activities. Obviously, when they do finish that, they would like to be able to sleep somewhere where it's comfortable. But the most important aspect, the cog in the wheel, is the activities. What can make it so attractive for people to be here and to remain in the country, so that we have what we call more bed nights spent in a particular geographic environment. By so doing, you'll be maximizing on your revenue earnings. So the safari experience is so key. People don't come here to look at the skyscrapers as such. They come here to look at the wild. They come here to look at something which is uniquely Zimbabwean, uniquely African. So they can travel for that perception, that experience in itself is a selling point for this destination.
Okay. My one concern is that almost the entire African continent, and certainly Southern Africa, is specializing in the same thing. and they have the same natural features. How has this affected the tourism market in Zimbabwe, and how have you dealt with this competition?
Wow. In fact, I like that. I should be able to clarify that point. We all have some different hands, but we've got different fingerprints.
Right.
Correct?
Okay.
And we have a totally unique fingerprint here in Zimbabwe. You don't take us in a generic form where you think the experience we give to our visitors are the same experience they can get either in Namibia or in South Africa or in Mozambique or in Tanzania for that matter. We have unique products here. And why do I say so? I say so, first of all, we pride ourselves as a destination which still has the big five which roams in the wild. When we say roaming in the wild, we're talking about big five which roams freely in the wild without any human interference. Whereas our other friends, our neighbors, they've gone to extent with putting protective measures and putting the big five into some form of fences. When you do that, you are restricting them in terms of their movement, their natural habitat, the way they can relate to each other and everything else. So that's one subtle selling point we have got that we really have, and we only have the big five in the southern region which roams freely in the wild. Where else can you get it in Africa? Only in Zimbabwe. So that's one of the biggest competitive advantage we've got. Now, besides that, we also have the people. Our people in Zimbabwe are a good selling point. We've got people here who are, difficult as things may look, they remain very hospitable, smiling like you are. When things are hard, and that also helps in terms of selling the destination, making sure that we give people that experience, because in tourism you are not selling the tangible, you are selling the intangible. You are selling an experience, a perception of a destination, and that is coined by the cultural exchange which they get when they get an environment, does help a great deal in terms of giving value to our visitors.
Okay, nice. How are you dealing with issues, or are there any issues of poaching affecting our safari areas at the moment?
Yes, I mean, we are not isolated. Poaching has now become an international hazard. Okay. In fact, in the region, in Africa, you find that most of the countries up north, they have lost, in particular, most of their big five population, in particular the elephant. There's been rampant poaching even in areas like up north. I will not mention countries in case I get sued, but you'll be very much interested to know that we are currently at the moment one of the countries which is enjoying a population of wildlife, especially on the species like elephant, which has continued to grow. We are currently sitting at close to 100,000 elephants for an area size of a natural habitat which should only be able to contain about half that population. So we actually overpopulated, and that in itself is a show of strength in terms of the conservation methods, how we have managed to conserve our animals and making sure that they're sustainable, they can survive in the environment and give us value into the future.
Okay. So we are speaking to Mr. Emmanuel Fundira, and he is the president of the Safari Operators Association of Zimbabwe. Mr. Fundira, this year, I know it's the International Year of Sustainable Tourism. What sustainability initiatives are there on the ground in safari areas here in Zimbabwe that can help economically, environmentally, social-culturally?
Yes. In fact, I mentioned this earlier on in my presentation when I mentioned the fact that one of the biggest advantages we carry in this particular environment is that we've been able to manage our wildlife sustainably. What do I say? The only way you can demonstrate sustainability is to conduct activities on the same wildlife but still maintain an element of growth. We do apply scientific methods in terms of managing our wildlife where we can only harvest less than 2% of the growth of the population. Okay. So, for example, if the population growth for elephant as a species, as an example, is say 10%, we can only harvest 2% of that 10%. To allow the natural growth to increase. And by so doing, those scientific methods have helped us a great deal in making sure that our populations continue to grow. We are harvesting the old so that we can allow the young to grow. we're harvesting the old and allow the young to germinate and expand and increase in terms of their population. In fact, if you don't even do that with a lion pride, you remember there was a hula baloo about the loss of Sisu the lion. But if you think of Sisu was 13 years old, and before you knew it, some of the young cubs were going to fight him anyway and kill him and take him out of that pride. That's how they do in their own natural habitat. But if we can maximize on some of those animals and even generate revenue before they are lost through natural attrition, we think that's something beneficial, not only to the economy, but to the community. Because mind you, in Zimbabwe, more than 800,000 families live directly and benefit from wildlife use. So that's a lot in terms of provision of infrastructure, water, sanitation, health, and all sorts of other considered advantages which come from wildlife. Building of schools, bridges, roads, maintenance, everything else. We've got councils through Campfire which benefit quite a lot from wildlife. For this year only, already approximately about $3 million have been applied towards that. So that's a lot of revenue which is going to communities to benefit from the utilization of their wildlife.
Wow, those are huge figures, and they must be coming from somewhere. How many tourists are we receiving coming on these safaris?
Wow. In fact, one advantage about our industry is that it's a high value net. Is for high value net worth clients. Mm-hmm. We don't talk about the huge numbers. We talk about the value per client. We have got clients who per client. You won't be surprised if I tell you the figures. You may fall off your chair. One client can spend up to $400,000 on a 21 days safari. And that in itself gives you the significance of the industry. That is not necessarily driven by a huge population of numbers, but you're talking about people who are wealthy,
yes,
and who want to come and enjoy an experience. And through that experience, they are prepared to spend a high value in terms of dollar spent.
Wow.
So in terms of numbers, we continue getting inquiries, we continue selling safaris well into 2-3 years, etc., in advance, and that's an added advantage. Why? Because the person who's sitting out there in New York or in Japan, in Tokyo, they also want to have that bush experience to come to Zimbabwe, and they've got the money to spend. And they're prepared to spend more money than we can think of.
Yes.
And we're very happy, and we think it's something which we need to maintain and guard jealously.
That's right. And luckily for us, Star FM has a wide listenership across Zimbabwe and all over the world. I'm sure there are people outside Africa who are listening right now and thinking, why should I choose a safari over maybe a theme park? Or how can I get to those safaris? Or why don't I go to a coastal region instead? What can you say to persuade them right now to come to our Zimbabwean safaris?
Yes, if you remember what I said to you earlier on, that we all have hands, yes, but we've got different fingerprints.
Yes.
The experience you get in Zimbabwe, you cannot get it elsewhere. You got Big Five, which is roaming in the wild. That's one. You also have the people in Zimbabwe can be able to give you an expedition experience, which is second to none. We go to our people who can make sure that you are looked after. The hospitality aspect is second to none. We also have a natural environment, which is very peaceful. We are a peaceful, loving nation for a start. We may be facing some challenges here and there, but one thing we pride ourselves is you have never heard of anything in terms of loss of tourists in Zimbabwe, in terms of their lives. So people love to do that. We also have the iconic Victoria Falls, for example. After their safari, they can then go and enjoy the ambience of one of the 7 wonders of the world. So we have a lot of things to offer. And if you don't wish to see the Victoria Falls, you've seen it before, we also have the Eastern Highlands, which has got a fairly wide array of features. People come to do bird viewing, bird watching. They pay lots of money by just counting birds. But a lot of people who live here in this environment don't realize how much endowment we have got, which other people don't have in their own habitat. And because of that, we have, as an industry, managed to ring fence that and market that as well as possible for the benefit of the nation.
That is Mr. Emmanuel Fundira, President of the Safari Operators Association of Zimbabwe. Mr. Fundira, thank you so much for coming to the show.
You're most welcome, Marie.
That's all we have for you tonight. Link up with me on my Facebook page, Mazwi Shamu, or let's continue the conversation on the WhatsApp platform 263-734-610-613.
Star FM, sounding good all the time.
At 1.7 kilometers long and 100 meters high, our destination for the week is the mighty and majestic Victoria Falls. This is one of the natural wonders of the world. The falls are a show of power and splendid beauty, all wrapped up in one package. This is a destination everyone should try and see at least once in their lifetime. There are so many viewing points to admire these beautiful falls. The river and Wild Gorge is a sight only flights by aeroplane, microlights and helicopters can offer. But no matter where you choose to view the falls from, you will not be disappointed. The fantastic sight is a memory you can carry for the rest of your life. Also known as the world's adventure capital, those thrill-seeking, adventurous type of tourists will love this destination as it has so much to offer. Probably topping the list is the 111-meter bungee jump from the Victoria Falls Bridge and the whitewater rafting in the Zambezi Gorge. There are other more sedate activities such as sunset cruises, game drives, rainforest tours, and for the business tourist, Vic Falls offers excellent conference facilities. In fact, it has gained popularity as an incentive travel destination. Before you leave, go and visit the century-old baobab tree and do some village tours and learn new or different Zimbabwean culture. Victoria Falls Airport is now an international airport, making it accessible from all over the world. So there's no excuse not to visit the majestic Mosioa Tunya, the smoke that thunders. But as you visit the destination and interact with the locals, in line with our tourism theme this year, the International Year of Sustainable Tourism, remember, take nothing but photographs, leave nothing but footprints. Till next time, happy traveling.
Thank you for tuning in to the Travel and Tourism Show on Star FM.